There are numerous referrals to the Assyrian as a title of the Antichrist. Well, shalom and greetings from Jerusalem. Joan Lippis, or hashtag Joni in Jerusalem, welcoming you to Lunchtime Prayer for Israel. Well, yesterday we talked about God's promise to Egypt, and that's why today we want to look at God's promise to Assyria. Now, Assyria's relationship with Israel was also convoluted as Egypt's was. Often, God used Assyria as his tool of discipline against Israel. But the pride of the Assyrian king, while they were God's tool, led the army beyond God's boundaries. As a result, God then disciplined the Assyrians. And there are also numerous referrals to the Assyrian as the title of the Antichrist or the Anti-Messiah. And we've talked about that. Now, today, Assyria is a nation without a home. The population of approximately 5 million people are spread around the world, with many of them fleeing to their closest neighbors, Syria, Iran, and Turkey. Nevertheless, one day, Assyria will be part of the unique trio of nations along with Egypt and Israel. So we want to continue in Isaiah chapter 19, verses 23 to 25. Okay, as we read yesterday, in that day there will be a highway from Egypt to Assyria, and the Assyrian will come into Egypt, and the Egyptians into Assyria, and the Egyptians will serve with the Assyrians. In that day, Israel will be one of three with Egypt and Assyria, even a blessing in the midst of the land, whom the Lord of hosts shall bless, saying, Blessed is Egypt my people, and Assyria the work of my hands, and Israel my inheritance. Well, that to me is exciting. It's very exciting that God loves nations. He does love nations, not as much as he loves people, but here he has given very specific promises, not only to Israel, but also to Assyria and Egypt. I find that extremely exciting because God is just so good. Now, in my studies, I learned that there is a small church in Assyria among Assyrians. What their doctrine is, what their theology is, I don't know. And especially now that they're spread out into all the nations, especially Iran, Turkey, and Syria. So that's why we want to pray that the people, the church, will have a saving knowledge of Yeshua and stand firm in their faith and reach the rest of the people in the nation where they are. So with that, I do say, Lehitraot, Shalom from Jerusalem.